Welcome to Wordplay, where writer's block becomes the building blocks of playful creativity. I'm Vicki Finkley Brown, and every week we dive into fun and effective strategies to help you unlock your creative potential and overcome the hurdles of writing. Whether you're struggling with a tough scene, looking for fresh ideas, or just need a creative boost, you've come to the right place. Let's transform those writing challenges into opportunities for imaginative play. You ready to get started? Then let's dive in. Today, I'd like to address plot holes. Plot holes are gaps and inconsistencies in a storyline that go against the flow of logic established by the story's plot. Now, I'm not saying that the list I'm getting ready to share with you is exhaustive, but they are the most common types. Number one, contradictory events. This is when you have events or facts within a story that contradict each other. For example, a character's actions or abilities change without explanation. Number two, inexplicable character decisions. When characters make decisions that do not align with their established motivations or knowledge, this often includes acting against their self interest without a clear reason. Number three, unexplained powers or abilities. Characters suddenly acquiring abilities or knowledge without prior foreshadowing or justification, breaking the internal logic of the story. Number four, overlooked resources or solutions. Characters ignoring obvious solutions or resources that have been established earlier in the narrative, making their struggle seem artificial. I guess this is when that saying, you will go all the way around the world just to get to your own backyard, would apply. Disappearing characters or items. Important characters or items introduced early in the story that are forgotten or never mentioned again without explanation. It seems like it would be, something that a writer would do, but in all honesty, I have done it myself and then wondered, whatever happened to timeline inconsistencies? Events occurring in an order that does not make sense within the timeline established by the story, such as characters traveling unrealistically fast or aging inconsistently. And again, I think it's important to note that it has to be inconsistent within the timeline that has been established in the story. So if your timeline isn't linear, and all of a sudden everything is happening in a linear way, that could be a little bit of, a pothole. Unrealistic resolutions, conflicts or mysteries being resolved too easily or through means that were not previously hinted at, undermining the story's tension and plausibility. And I think this is a big problem that a lot of writers have, where they have built all this tension, all this conflict and suspense, and they've done such a great job. And now it's time for everything to start kind of working out. And it's like, where and how do I get from this tightly coiled knot of tension to the denouement, right? The resolution. And I think a lot of times people just throw in like some miraculous, you know, uh, resolve. And then it's like, well, that was not satisfying. And that's usually when you read a book and you have like really been engrossed and really been excited about all of it. And you've gotten all of the, sis, boom, raw, right? But then you get to the end and it's a huge letdown and disappointment. And usually it's because of an unrealistic resolution that just didn't meet up. Technology or magic inconsistencies. Once a writer has established rules for technology or magic within the story, and then it's broken without explanation, making previously significant limitations irrelevant, again, huge plot hole that if left unfilled, will leave your reader questioning, how did we get here? And why were these limits all of a sudden not limits anymore, right? Convenient coincidences. This is when events happen purely out of convenience to advance the plot without logical reasons, making the story feel forced. And as writers and as readers, we know when this is happening. It is very obvious that the writer has decided I cannot find a plausible way to move on to get from point A to point C. So I'm going to throw in point B and hopefully people will just pass over it. And you never do because it sticks out like a sore thumb. And number 10, information discrepancies. Characters having knowledge they couldn't logically possess based on their experiences and what the audience knows about them. And again, this is a really tricky plot hole because like writers know the backstory of their characters. They know what the audience does not have access to. And so when writers are building up all of these character interactions and they're using the character's backstory that is well known to them but has not been made public to the audience to inform how the audience, or excuse me, how the character uh, reacts or what the character knows. It is jarring because the reader is like, nothing that I know about this character's background is actually like prepared me that they would know this thing, right? And so that is why it is so important to not only as a writer understand your character's background story, but also have a way, if it is significant, to at least give glimpses of the important pieces that will, um, create reasoning and foundation for what your character does, um, and what your character knows. So now that we have gone over the top 10, right, my top 10 uh, plot holes, it's time for a little wordplay, right? Because these things can be really hard to not only spot, but once you spot them, how do you fix them? How do you take a giant plot hole and fill it? And so I have come up with this really fun way that I like to do to help me with plot holes, with character issues, with pretty much everything. So, number one, and this is my disclaimer, I am not a trained tarot card reader. I do not offer tarot readings to anyone. I don't profess or proclaim to be someone who is able to help guide anyone along with the use of tarot cards. There. That being said, I love tarot cards. I love buying different decks, especially when they're beautifully illustrated. I love all of it. And I have found some of the most interesting uses for tarot in my writing. So I'm going to help you figure out how to fix your plot holes using a tarot card deck and the book of interpretations that come with it. So I have several decks of tarot, but my favorite is the first deck I ever purchased. Is that straight? Yes. This is the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Sterile. And no, I am not an affiliate. I am not getting paid to show this deck of tarot cards, but it really is my go-to deck. Um, and it came with this little book that literally will help you interpret pretty much all the cards, right? And most decks of tarot cards do come with an interpretation book, but they also encourage you, as does this little book, to start to trust your own intuition when you are dealing with the cards. So if I am facing a plot hole problem and I want to have a fun, playful, innovative way to try and fill that plot hole when I'm just completely stuck and I cannot unravel anything in my brain, and I'm just sitting here looking at the hole, right? I like to go to my deck, and usually I never pull out the entire deck because, good Lord, you know how many cards are in a deck of tarot cards, right? So I try not to go to the entire deck. Um, so here I'm going to share just a few like steps, right? And if you're interested, by the way, in getting a a digital copy of this approach to filling plot holes, um, please be sure to join my Substack, my chaotic erotic writer's life, um, at the paying level for the year. And you will get this digital print as a welcome gift for free. Okay. So basically, you use your tarot cards in the same way that you would normally use them, right? You go to your deck, and you do the shuffling and you do the whole thing. And for me, if I'm trying to figure out a plot hole specifically, then I like to do just a simple 3-card spread. And I went through and did this whole shuffling and situation um, before I started recording. And so I went in, I did my shuffling, I did my spread. And while I'm doing all of that, I'm focusing on this plot hole that needs to be rectified, right? And so I am like thinking about my plot hole as I'm shuffling, and then as I'm getting ready to start choosing my cards, I ask the question, right? Whatever the question might be. My question was, what can I do to solve the problem to end this plot hole? Can you please help me see more clearly the problem and, the resolution? Help me find the cause, like all of these things, right? Because in a 3-card spread, you need to know at least 3 things. So the 3 things that I need to know are the problem. What exactly is the problem? What's, with my plot? Like, what is the hole, right? What type of plot hole do I have? And what caused the plot hole, right? So that I can at least learn from this and not keep making the same mistake. And what is the solution? How do I fix it? Right? And so I went in, I did my thing, and the first card that came up was the Empress. But she came up inverted. Can you guys see that? There's a glare. There we are, I think. She came in inverted. And the second card that came up was the Ten of Pentacles. And it came up exactly the way it needed to be. The third and final card that came up were the Two of Cups. So as you can see, this is my 3-card spread with my tarot. And I simply put them on my board the way they came out. Now, for the interpretation. And this is where I think having something as both objective and subjective as tarot cards to help you figure out what your hole is, what caused your hole, and how to perhaps approach fixing it is both fun and in a lot of ways freeing, right? Because it's like, girl, this was a cosmic thing. You had nothing to do with this. This was already decided by the stars that it was going to happen, or at least that's what I tell myself, right? So let's get into these interpretations and how using tarot spreads can help you fix your plot holes. Okay, like I said, I am not a tarot card reader. If I did not have a little book that told me what every card meant and how to interpret them, I wouldn't know anything. I'd simply be reading the pictures on the cards like I do sometimes when I'm looking for dialogue. So, but for this specific exercise, I am definitely wanting to get the correct interpretation. So, position 1 is where am I? Boom, the problem. And it is the Empress, and she is inverted. The inverted Empress suggests a lack of growth, creativity, or nurturing. This might indicate that the plot hole in your story stems from an underdeveloped character or subplot. It could also suggest a disconnect from the emotional or nurturing aspects of the story, perhaps indicating that the characters or the narrative are not evolving in a believable or satisfying way. So that really does help me out, right? So if it is a lack of emotional and nurturing aspects that would definitely keep the reader from connecting with the characters and the narrative, then that is something I need to definitely go look at, right? And if it is an underdeveloped character or subplot that definitely needs to be developed, then now I have some other areas that I can go in and poke around and find. And then, of course, just knowing that, you know, if the narrative and the characters aren't evolving in believable ways, it is not going to be a satisfying read. So now I have some foundational footing for what my problem is. Like I know there's a hole, but what is it, right? What's missing? There's a lack of emotional and connectivity. There's a lack of emotional connectivity within my character and or my plot that I need to address, or this whole thing's going to fall apart. So now I know what my problem is. So what's caused it? Like, why did I not address this? And that is the second position, and that's the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles represents legacy, family, wealth, and long term success. In the context of the plot hole, it might suggest that the cause of the issue is rooted in the story's background or foundational elements. Perhaps the problem arises from an overly idealized past or a focus on material success that neglects deeper emotional or relational aspects. It might also indicate that the plot hole is due to the story's history or backstory being too complex and not fully integrated into the present narrative. And oh my God, when I read this and I started thinking about how the 10 of Pentacles could fit into like causing a plot hole, and I realized that for me, because I did this for real for my work in progress, that it was my backstory and the story's history is extremely complex, and it has not been fully integrated into the present narrative, and therefore my characters and all the subplots are not fully realized and developed in a meaningful way that will connect them to the story's history, to the backstory, to their own backstory. And so this was really important for me, something that I've journaled about and I've taken a lot of notes about, and I'm going to have to face the devil and speak with my developmental editor about, right? And I don't know if I want to say, by the way, I got all of this from some tarot cards, but it really did help me to figure out why, although I know what's going on because, again, I'm aware of the backstory and the history of the story. It isn't evident to everyone because I've not done a great job of integrating all of the complexities into the present narrative. So that, my friend, was like, whoa, it was so helpful. And the last card, which is the Two of Cups, this gives me my solution. There. Okay. Looking at this thing, because yeah, anyway. So the Two of Cups symbolizes partnership, unity, and mutual understanding. As a solution, this card could suggest resolving the plot hole through the development of strong, meaningful relationships between characters. This could mean deepening existing relationships, creating new alliances, or focusing on emotional connections to drive the plot forward. The solution may lie in bringing characters together in a way that feels authentic and emotionally fulfilling, thereby filling up all of the narrative gaps. And I'm telling you, like, my mind was blown because that's exactly what has to happen. I have to find a way to create connections between the characters within a family from different eras and making sure that these connections are authentic and that they are grounded in the true emotional continuity that has crossed time and space to be taken care of. And so, yeah, I'm going to be 100% transparent and 100% honest because I think that's important. I didn't know if this was going to be a playful moment that would work. I didn't know if this wordplay activity would be something that actually yielded, um, a trip over my writer's block when dealing with plot holes. But y'all, 10 out of 10, I recommend. Like, it really did help to have a tool that is both objective and subjective at my fingertips, and the use of the booklet to help interpret what the card meant, and then using my knowledge of writing and plot holes to align those interpretations with what it is I needed to know is quite telling. And I am so serious when I say this. It's also a lot of fun, right? It's a lot of fun. So if I take these interpretations, you may be asking, so how do I use them? How do I use the spread to address the plot holes in my story? And there are a lot of ways in which you would be able to use any type of spread to help address a plot hole. And a lot of this information is included in the handout that I have as a free download when you join my Substack at the 1 year paid level. And for now, I will tell you that using tarot cards as a way to address your plot holes with a simple 3 card spread will ultimately free you from combing through line after line, word after word, going through all of your character arc outlines, your plot arc outlines, your narrative arc outlines to see where things fell off. It will free you from having to do that incessantly and offer an objective yet subjective opportunity for you to uncover what is missing in your plot or from your character or from your narrative. Now, is this going to work for every plot hole? Of course not. But will it provide a foundation upon which you are able to systematically approach how you address your plot holes or how you define or identify your plot holes? Yes. Because, like everything in a writer's toolbox, every tool in a writer's toolbox, it is not going to write your story for you. That is on you. But having tools that allow you to step out of the writer's position, out of the editor's position, out of the reader's position, even, and take on a new role, something a little bit different than what you're used to doing, something perhaps even a little taboo if you're not into tarot, something that pulls you out of your comfort zone and helps you rely on your intuition, because that's really what tarot is about, helping you connect with your intuition while also giving you a little bit of wiggle room to throw some playtime into your writing. I say 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Those are huge wins. If my writing day is consistent, which it never is, but if I had a consistent writing day and I knew that I was giving 4 hours every day, but in seat, except for when I'm up dancing so that I'm not sitting for 4 hours straight, but in seat, committed to banging out this manuscript, I am going to approach these 4 hours a little more, I would say, joyously, a little more ready if I know that there may be 15, 20 minutes of that writing day where I get to pull out my tarot deck, shuffle, ask a couple of questions, throw a spread down, read the book to help me interpret um, this, problem that I'm having, and and then go from there. Because if you cannot find moments to play during your creative endeavors, it will show up in the worst ways when you're writing. So, thank you for joining me for this week's wordplay. I'm Vicki Finkley Brown, your playful writing coach, reminding you to subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I post new material, and join my Substack, My Chaotic Erotic Writer's Life, at the paid level for 1 year to receive your free digital download of this word play exercise. How tarot cards can help you fill your own plot holes. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you enjoyed this session. Let me know if you found it helpful and what other type of playful writing things you may want me to talk about. I will leave you with this. I'm going to choose one card, one card. It's the King of Wands. I have no idea what this means. None at all. So I'm just going to use my intuition, read the picture, and this is my greatest desire for you. May you sit on a throne built of grace, love, and ease. May the wand you wield be one of peace, joy, and self-love. Maintain fairness and wear your crown with pride. Even if your kingdom or your queendom is small and filled with jagged shores, keep your head high, for you and your throne are always, always held in the universe's eye. Have an amazing weekend. And remember, if you're not playing when you're creating, then you are not creating. Bye.